The night was loud, alive, and dripping with neon. Music poured out of the nightclub like a heartbeat, heavy bass shaking the sidewalk, laughter spilling into the streets, strangers brushing past each other under flickering lights. Chicago after midnight was a different world. A dangerous one. And Daniel Park knew it. He stepped out of the club, adjusting his jacket, the cold air hitting his face as he exhaled slowly. It had been a long shift, longer than usual. His body was tired, but his mind was somewhere else, thinking about home. About Josh. About Melissa. He checked his watch. Too late. Again. He shook his head slightly, a faint smile forming despite everything. They're probably asleep, he muttered to himself. I'll see them in the morning. He began walking down the street, his footsteps steady against the wet pavement. It had rained earlier, and the ground reflected the city lights like broken glass. Cars passed occasionally, their headlights slicing through the darkness. But something felt off. Daniel slowed down. There was a silence behind him that didn't belong. Then, a black car rolled up beside him. Slow. Deliberate. The kind of movement that doesn't ask for attention, but demands it. Daniel stopped walking. His eyes shifted toward the tinted window. It rolled down, and time seemed to freeze. Inside the car sat a man who didn't belong to the night. He controlled it. Sharp eyes. Cold. Calculated. A face with no hesitation, no emotion. Zoa. Daniel's heart skipped. He didn't need introductions. In Chicago, men like Zoa were not just known, they were feared. Daniel swallowed. Listen. I don't want any trouble, he said carefully, his voice calm but tight. Zoa didn't respond. He just stared, studying him, like he was already gone. Then Zoa spoke, his voice low, almost bored. You were warned. Daniel's brows pulled together in confusion. Warned about what? No answer. Just a slight movement. A hand rising. A gun. And in that moment, Daniel understood. This wasn't a conversation. This was an ending. Wait, he started. The first gunshot exploded through the street. It was loud. Violent. Final. Daniel's body jerked back as the bullet tore through him. Then another. And another. Each shot echoing like thunder between the buildings. Glass shattered nearby. A car alarm screamed to life. Daniel collapsed onto the pavement, the world spinning around him as the cold seeped into his bones. The city lights above him blurred. The sound of the nightclub, distant now. Fading. His breathing became shallow, uneven. Pain spread through his chest, heavy, suffocating. And then, silence. The car window rolled back up. The black car pulled away like nothing had happened. No rush. No panic. Just disappearance. As if death was routine. Daniel lay there, unmoving, his blood mixing with the rainwater beneath him. His eyes slowly drifted upward, staring into the night sky. And in his final moments, he saw their faces. Josh, Melissa. He tried to speak, tried to hold on to something. But nothing came out. Only a weak breath. And then, darkness. Sirens would come later. Police, ambulances, crowds, questions. But none of that mattered anymore. Because by the time help arrived, Daniel Carter was gone. And somewhere across the city, 2 children slept peacefully, unaware that their lives had just been shattered forever. Morning came quietly. Too quietly. Sunlight crept through the thin curtains of a small apartment on the south side. Josh woke first. 16 years old, already carrying more weight than most grown men. He sat up, rubbing his eyes, listening. No sound from the kitchen. No movement. That was strange. Dad? He called out. No answer. He frowned. Melissa stirred in the next room, her small voice sleepy. Is Dad home? Josh didn't respond right away. Something felt wrong. He got out of bed and walked toward the living room. Empty. The kitchen. Empty. A cold silence filled the space. Then, a knock at the door. Sure. Official. Josh's heart began to beat faster. He walked slowly, his hand hovering over the handle before opening it. 2 police officers stood outside. Their expression said everything before they even spoke. Are you Josh Park? One of them asked gently. Josh nodded. Pause. A breath. Then words that would echo for the rest of his life. There's been an incident involving your father. The world didn't end all at once. It broke, piece by piece. Melissa's cries filled the apartment. Josh stood still, frozen, as if refusing to believe what he was hearing. No, that's not true, Melissa sobbed, clinging to him. Josh didn't cry. Not yet. He just stared. Empty. Numb. until one word slipped through the officer's explanation. A name. Zoa. And something changed inside him. Something dark. Something permanent. The funeral was quiet. Too quiet. Rain fell again just like that night. People came. Neighbors. Co-workers. Strangers who offered sympathy that meant nothing. Josh stood beside Melissa, dressed in black, his jaw tight, his eyes locked on the coffin. He didn't look away. Not once. As it was lowered into the ground, Melissa broke down completely. But Josh remained still, because inside him, grief was already turning into something else. A promise. A silent one. He didn't say it out loud. Didn't need to. But in his mind, it was clear. Zoa, I will find you. And I will destroy everything you built. Years passed. But that night never left him. Not the sound of the gunshots. Not the image of the black car. Not the name. Zoa. It followed him everywhere. In his thoughts. In his dreams. In every decision he made. While other kids chased normal lives, Josh chased something else. Purpose. Training harder than anyone. Pushing his body until it broke. Then pushing further. Discipline became his escape. Pain became his fuel. He didn't care about anything else. Not friends. Not fun. Not peace. Only one thing mattered. Becoming strong enough to take down monsters. And eventually, he did. The CIA. It wasn't easy. It wasn't quick. But Josh Carter wasn't built to quit. He earned his place. Proved himself. Again and again. Until he became something more than just a recruit. He became a weapon. Focused. Precise. Relentless. But while Josh was building himself into something dangerous, Melissa chose a different path. She refused to live in the shadow of that night. Refused to let hate define her. Instead, she found healing. In art. In expression. In ink. The buzz of a tattoo machine became her therapy. Each design a story. Each line a release. She built a quiet life for herself in a small tattoo shop downtown. A place where people came broken. And left with something meaningful. She smiled again. Laughed again. Slowly. She learned how to live again. Until the day he walked in. Zhongli. He didn't look like danger. Didn't carry himself like someone who ruled anything. He was calm. Quiet. Almost distant. But there was something in his eyes. Something heavy. Something familiar. "Babe, I want something simple," he said, sitting down. Melissa nodded, preparing her tools. Simple can still mean a lot. He gave a faint smile. "Yeah, I know." They talked. At first just small things. The design. The meaning behind it. But as the needle touched his skin, something shifted. Conversation flowed. Naturally. Easily. Like they had known each other before. He came back again. And again. Sometimes for tattoos. Sometimes just to sit and talk. And without realizing it, Melissa fell for him. For the first time since her father died, she felt something real. Something warm. Something safe. But what she didn't know was that love was about to collide with the past. In the most devastating way possible. Zhongli didn't plan to fall in love. Men like him weren't supposed to. His world was built on control, power, and silence, not feelings. Not vulnerability. But every time he stepped into that tattoo shop, every time he saw Melissa, something inside him shifted. Something dangerous. Something human. He started staying longer. Not just for the ink, but for her voice, her laugh, the way she looked at him like he was just a man, not something more. Not something darker. "What made you choose this design?" Melissa asked one afternoon, wiping the excess ink from his arm. Zhongli glanced at the tattoo, a simple, clean symbol. "It's a reminder," he said quietly. "Of what?" He hesitated. Then answered, "that not everything in life has to be permanent." Melissa smiled softly. "Funny, tattoos are pretty permanent." He looked at her. "Not everything that matters leaves a mark you can see." That was the moment she knew. She was in love. What she didn't know was who he really was. While their love was growing in quiet corners of the city, Josh was getting closer to war. The name Zhongli had surfaced in classified files. Connections, movements, financial networks, underground operations. Everything pointed to one truth. Zhongli wasn't just another criminal. He was the new head of the Korean Mafia. Zoa's son. Josh stared at the file in silence. His jaw tightened. His fists clenched. "So it continues?" he whispered. This wasn't just unfinished business anymore. This was legacy. Bloodline. The son of the man who murdered his father. Now sitting on the same throne. Josh didn't hesitate. Didn't question it. The mission was approved. A full takedown. Surveillance teams were deployed. Safe houses identified. Key players tracked. Every move Zhongli made was watched, studied, prepared for. Josh led the operation personally. He had to. Because this wasn't just duty. This was personal. Days passed. The net tightened. And then, everything changed. Started with something small. Melissa noticed Zhongli acting different. Distracted. Careful. Watching his surroundings more than usual. "Is everything okay?" she asked one evening. He forced a smile. "Yeah, just work." But Melissa wasn't convinced. Something felt wrong. That night, curiosity turned into instinct. Instinct turned into action. She searched, checked, followed a trail she didn't fully understand, until she found it. A name, a file, a connection. Zhongli, Zoa. Her heart stopped. No, that can't be," she whispered. But the deeper she looked, the clearer it became. The man she loved was the son of the man who killed her father. Her world shattered. Tears streamed down her face as the truth crushed her. Memories replayed. Every smile, every moment, every word. All of it, now stained with something unbearable. But even then, her heart refused to let go. Because love doesn't disappear just because the truth hurts. Desperate, she ran to Josh. He was already preparing. Maps, plans, weapons. "You have to stop this." Melissa burst in, her voice shaking. Josh didn't look surprised. Almost like he had been expecting this moment. "You know, don't you?" she said. He nodded slowly. "Yeah, that's him. Zhongli, he's Zoa's son," she cried. "I know." Silence. Heavy. Unforgiving. "Then stop this," she begged. "Please." "Josh, he's not his father." Josh finally looked at her. And in his eyes, there was no hesitation. "He doesn't have to be," Josh said coldly. "He's part of it. That's enough." "He loves me," Melissa shouted. Josh's expression hardened. "And our father loved us." That hit her like a blow. Tears fell freely now. "Please. I'm begging you, don't do this." Josh stepped closer. His voice low, firm, unmovable. "This ends now." Melissa knew in that moment. She had lost him. Not physically, but emotionally. He was gone. Consumed by something she couldn't reach. So she made a choice. If she couldn't stop Josh, she would save Zhongli. She found him that night. Her face pale. Eyes filled with fear. "You need to listen to me," she said urgently. Zhongli immediately sensed it. "What's wrong?" "My brother, he's coming for you." Everything went still. She told him everything. The truth. The plan. The raid. Zhongli didn't interrupt. Didn't react immediately. When she finished, he exhaled slowly. "So, it finally caught up to me," he said quietly. Melissa grabbed his hand. "We can leave. Right now. Just go. Please, we can disappear." For a moment, Zhongli looked torn. Between two worlds. The one he was born into, and the one he found with her. Then he nodded. "Okay." They moved fast. Fake documents. A way out. One chance. But Josh knew his sister too well. The night they tried to escape, the city felt different. Too quiet. Too still. As they approached the meeting point, lights exploded around them. Federal agents. "Don't move." Sirens screamed. Guns raised. No way out. Melissa froze. Zhongli slowly raised his hands. From the shadows, Josh stepped forward. Their eyes met. Brother. Sister. Enemy. Everything collided in that moment. "Josh, please," Melissa whispered. Josh didn't respond. Zhongli looked at him calmly. "No more running," he said. Josh stepped closer. Pain flickered in his eyes, but only for a second. Then it was gone. "Zhongli, you're under arrest." Melissa broke down. "No. Please. Don't do this." But it was already over. Handcuffs clicked. Cold. Final. As they took Zhongli away. He turned one last time. "I'm sorry," he said to her. Melissa collapsed to the ground, crying uncontrollably. Josh stood there. Silent. Victorious. But not whole. Weeks later. The trial ended. Zhongli was sentenced to 20 years in prison. The empire fell. The mafia dismantled piece by piece. The city moved on. But the scars remained. Melissa stopped tattooing. The shop felt empty without meaning. Josh continued his work. Mission after mission. But something inside him was quieter now. Not peace. Just emptiness. Because revenge didn't bring his father back. It didn't fix anything. It only took more away. And somewhere far from the city, behind cold steel bars, Zhongli sat alone. Not as a king. Not as a leader. Just a man. Who once chose love. Over everything else. And lost. In the end. No one truly won. Because when blood and love collide, someone always pays the price.